Hi everyone, welcome to Art Inception. In this video, I will show you my process of creating this holiday pooch. The concept art is created by another artist and I will include the links to her Instagram page down below. As always, I'm starting with blocking out some basic shapes to get most of the proportions and just to get something to start with. Most of the time I have to change some of that later on, so I'm not really worried about getting everything perfectly, but it just helps to get the work going and have a starting point. As you can see, I'm just inserting basic spheres and then just using the move tool to get them in my desired shape. Some of the other brushes that I use most of the time is the paint brush, move brush, and clay buildup brush. I decided to pose the dog pretty early in the process because the pose is pretty dynamic, so I thought that it would be easier to get it closer to the concept if I get it in that correct pose. Also, when you move things around and trying to pose the character, sometimes you have to go back and redefine the details. So I thought it would save me some time if I get it first in the pose and then work on the details. For the candy cane, I also started with a basic cylinder shape, and then I used the Z modeler brush to extrude the edges and form them into that recognizable candy cane shape at the end. Now you can notice that I already filled out the basic color for the model. I think it helps a lot with seeing the shapes and seeing how far away you are from the concept if you fill out that basic color that matches the concept art. To make the tail, I used the bend curve function. You can find it when you go to the move tool and then click on the gear icon and then click on bend curve, and you can modify it by moving around those orange dots. After I finished with the curve, I am looking at my model and the concept from the same angle, and I'm measuring the distance between the end of the tail and the leg and trying to make sure that it matches the concept as closely as possible. You can do it pretty easily when you hold Control and Shift, and you can hold down spacebar to move that rectangle around, and it serves kind of like as a ruler, and you can compare the distance between the parts of your model and the concept part. For the eyebrows, I'm using the topology brush, and I'm just drawing them on the surface of the head, and I'm trying to keep it pretty low poly so that I can shape it easily, but I will subdivide it later to create the smooth surface. For all the fur and the hairs, I'm using a hairbrush that I downloaded online for free, and you can just insert it, modify it how you want to. Also use the bend curve function to shape it how you want, and delete any extra edge loops if you don't want them. When I was painting the candy cane, I was following the topology of the model to make sure that I don't get the pixelated edge of my paint. So the way that I combine the fur with the main model is I duplicate that and use the Dynamesh to merge the fur with the rest of the model, and then I use the projection function to project all of the details that might get lost in the process. So that's why you need to duplicate it before you Dynamesh your model. After everything is done, I'm using the T-pose mesh to move all the last little things around and get the pose to match the reference. For the rendering, I used Blender. I think it's easier to set up the background and all of the lights as you want to in Blender. Sometimes I render out my things in Zbrush, but for this one I decided to play around and see how it would turn out in Blender. And one last thing is the lights around the dog. I decided to use an IMM brush that I found online instead of the lights that I had. So I just replaced them and then imported it back in Blender and rendered it again. And as you can see, I'm just adding the last few little changes around the face and the candy cane. And here's the finished sculpture. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of my artwork, follow me on Instagram, and I'll try to upload more video tutorials for you in the future. Alright, thank you everyone. Bye!